Good afternoon, everyone. I, Shashank, on behalf of NEN and Vadhani Foundation, would like to invite you all for this webinar and also introduce our experts. Mr. Ajaya Mohapatra is the co-founder and managing director of Just Rojgaar India Private Limited, a for-profit company incorporated in 2009. Ajaya co-founded JustRojgaar.com, the brand owned by Just Rojgaar India Private Limited. Since the inception of the company, Ajaya has steered its skill development initiatives. Under his leadership, the company has trained and placed over 2,000 candidates as of March 2013 and raised over 4.5 million Indian rupees from corporates like Vedanta Group, Jindal Steel and Power Limited, JSL Stainless Limited and American India Foundation in the last 2 years. He holds a postgraduate degree in rural development from Xavier Institute of Social Services, Ranchi, and was a visiting fellow at the Institute of Development Studies, University of Sussex in UK. Ms. Gouri Gupta is the lead strategy and program development executive at the National Skills Development Corporation, a public-private partnership set up to catalyze skills development in India. Gouri's role at NSDC involves developing the long-term vision and strategy and developing new business opportunities in the skill space. She is responsible for the special industry initiative for Jammu and Kashmir called UDAN and for developing the research base for skills at NSDC. Gouri also handles international relations for the program development team. Before I hand over the floor to Ajay and Gouri, here are a few reminders for the audience. You will all be on mute. You may ask a question by typing in the panel provided. Over to you.
Thank you, Shashank. A very good afternoon to everybody on this webinar, and thank you so much for joining us today. There are a few things that we would want to cover as part of this 1 hour. The agenda points include an overview of the skill development landscape in India, what is happening, why is it so interesting for the private sector. Then I would request Ajay to share his experiences as an entrepreneur in the space and to actually take you through some of the challenges and opportunities that he sees in the space. And thereafter, my colleague Vince will be talking about the Power to Empower Challenge, which is being launched by NSDC and India at 75, with the objective of encouraging young entrepreneurs to look at skill development as a scalable, sustainable business. And thereafter, we will be happy to take questions from the audience. So roughly this next 1 hour, we will split between the 4 agenda items. So to start with what the skill development landscape in India is and why is there so much thrust which is being given to this agenda from a policy perspective. So we've all heard of that magical 500 million number, which is the number of people that India will need to have in terms of skilled manpower by 2022. This is the time when India turns 75, and historically what has happened in the skill development space in the past is that it has been in the domain of either the government or in the form of CSR initiatives of corporates. And as a result, the capacity which had been created for skill development in the country by 2000, as of in 2008, was roughly about 4.3 million. It was estimated that if this capacity would grow at the rate at which it had been growing in the past, by 2022 it was likely to become about 65 million. India needs 500 million skilled people, which means that the capacity had to increase almost 8 times to meet the demand that would exist in India in 2022. Hence, the need was felt to involve private sector into the skill development space. And that is how the government, frankly, in all its wisdom, decided to create NSDC to encourage entrepreneurs to look at skill development as a scalable, sustainable business. So now let me just briefly talk about what is it that NSDC is doing and what is happening in the landscape currently. So NSDC has been created as a public-private partnership with the government holding 49% stake and industry through various associations, etc., holding 51% stake. And the objective of creating NSDC and the mandate that was given to the organization was twofold. The first one, the bigger mandate, was to skill or upskill 150 million people in this country between 2008 and 2022. And that mandate was sought to be achieved through engaging with private sector entrepreneurs and providing them with patient capital to set up businesses. In addition to the mandate of skilling, there was also the mandate to create an ecosystem for skills in this country. And I think, frankly, that is a larger mandate which we need to fulfill because it has many elements to it. And let me just talk about both these pieces in a little more detail. So in terms of the funding that is made available to the private sector today, NSDC is providing loans at 6% interest with a moratorium built in for the first few years, which is typically 3 years, and then repayment over a 10-year horizon, including the moratorium period. NSDC funds up to 75% of the project cost, not including land and building, but we fund for everything else, including equipment or any other form of capital expenditure. The 25% needs to be brought in by the promoters in the form of their own contribution. Because of the subsidized loans, it becomes an attractive investment vehicle for a lot of young entrepreneurs. What has happened so far is that NSDC has to date approved about 105 skilling proposals with a total commitment of close to 2,000 crores as of November 2013. Right, and what it means is effectively, when we started this organization, and we used to have a partners meet, and that partners meet would have about 10 people who were engaged in the skill development business. And when we have that partners meet today, there are more than 100 entrepreneurs in skill development in the room, right? So there is a lot of interest that has been created for skill development in this space. And frankly, why is this space interesting? One is because, as I mentioned, the capacity has to increase multiple times to be able to meet the demand that will exist in 2022. Second is, it's a fairly nascent industry, right? So even entrepreneurs who are getting into the space currently will have that first mover advantage. The third is, while it is a business which requires a fair amount of patience for the first couple of years, we have multiple entrepreneurs who have been able to break even and are able to get a good return. The fourth reason why it's attractive is that there's a lot of money chasing the space. There's not only NSDC, there's a lot of venture capital, there's a lot of private equity, there's a lot of government money chasing the space, right? Fifth is there's a lot of international attention on skill development. So overall, I think for entrepreneurs, if I look at it from an opportunity perspective, it's a huge opportunity. There are risks associated with it, and that is where NSDC's interventions in creating the ecosystem come in. For example, what we find most of our partners talking about in terms of a risk is their inability to actually get people to come and get vocationally trained. Now, we understand that there are two reasons for it. The first reason is that there is an issue about the ability to pay. And second is that there is an issue about willingness to pay. Right now, the ability to pay is a question because, frankly, a lot of people who are coming into vocational training come from households where the incomes are very low, and their ability to pay even a 5,000, 7,000 rupees for a course is difficult. So how are we trying to address that issue? At a policy level, NSDC has worked very closely with the Ministry of Finance to get a credit default guarantee fund created for vocational training loans. And now most public sector banks will start giving out vocational training loans.
Ms. Gouri,
there are a lot of entrepreneurs also.
Ms. Gouri,
yes.
I'm really sorry for interrupting your presentation, but I think your screen is stationary and there are some tabs open on that, which is, can you please close that? This is a request from the audience. Thank you so much.
Okay. So right now the screen is, we don't have a presentation here, Shan, so we are, I'm just talking about it.
Yeah,
We'll have a presentation, short presentation at the end.
yeah, definitely, not a problem.
So, so that is, about the ability question. In addition, what we're also doing is encouraging young entrepreneurs to look at businesses and financing for vocational training. So we have funded 2 entrepreneurs in this space. The second thing I'd spoken about in the mobilization challenge was the willingness of students to come and become vocationally trained, right? Now that is an aspiration question, and we've heard this statement being, said over and over again that, I would rather be a graduate and be unemployed than be vocationally trained and employed, right? So there is a huge aspiration deficit for vocational training, right? Now again, we have to break the myth that vocational training is only about blue collar jobs. Right here, we are looking, vocational training is anything that adds to the employability of an individual, and any intervention that leads to the person either getting a new job or an enhancement in salary or wages of that individual, or the person becoming self-employed, is vocational training, right? So while we talk about a plumber getting skilled and joining the workforce as vocational training, we also talk about a lawyer becoming upskilled to become part of the legal process outsourcing industry as vocational training, right? So we include the entire gamut of activities here. In terms of aspiration at a policy level, there are several initiatives that are being taken. For example, I don't know if you had seen the ad on the 15th of August, which said, which was an ad about Hunar Bharat. Right, so there is a national campaign on vocational training that is being launched. The idea being that we have to increase the aspiration level of vocational training in India. For example, can we showcase the guy who made Sachin Tendulkar's bat? Saying who is the star behind the real star. So this campaign is going to cover the length and breadth of the country, and we hope to get some traction for this sector through this campaign. The other interesting initiative that happens is the World Skills Competition, which is like a mini Olympics in skills, and it happens once every 2 years. A group of about 30 kids from India had gone to World Skills this year, and 3 actually came back with medallions. Right, so they are talking now in their own circles. World Skills is being promoted at the highest levels, and all of this is trying to address the aspiration value in skills. The other issue we found in this space in terms of the ecosystem was that there was very low credibility of the institutes which were existing in the space, right? Because you find all these mom and pop stores would offer accounting courses and English language courses. People would go there, pay a fees, and frankly, there was no value add in terms of the salaries, etc., that they were being offered. So in that context, industry has come together and has created what are called these sector skill councils, which are industry bodies responsible for defining what is the quality of manpower required in that particular sector. Again, NSDC is spearheading and funding these initiatives. So these are some of the ecosystem interventions that we have taken up. I'll stop here and I will hand over to Ajay to talk about his experience as being a real entrepreneur in this space, and also experience as being one of the winners of the Bar to Empower Challenge last year. Over to you, Ajay. Thank you.
Hi, friends and colleagues. Hopefully, I'm audible. Hello. Yeah, I'll start with my experience of being an entrepreneur and why we have also joined in this NSDC's Power to Empower competition or challenge. Like being a startup, when you start a small business, there is always a challenge that initially you are trying with various new ideas, concepts, but you don't know whether that idea or concept that has been like accepted by the larger world. And being in this skill development space, which is like evolving still, this is a as compared to any other development interventions or any other social interventions, skill development was fairly new. It was started after this National Skill Development Policy came into place. And and basically we were trying to evolve a model. And as an entrepreneur, when I was trying to share my ideas to various existing market players, whether it is like donor agency, investors. So initially it was a challenge for me to get accepted by various investors and other potential players in this market. So then we realized that even though we are implementing this skill development project since last 2.5 years, and we are confident about our proof of concept, but there was always a challenge that whether this has been accepted in the market. So therefore, what we realized that the best way of getting it accepted, getting our business model and our ideas accepted is go through the competition, go through the challenge. Why the challenge? Because we realized that once you present your ideas and thoughts, there would be many more industry experts, those who are going to evaluate your proposal starting from the page one when you are just sharing your concept paper. And then once your concept paper is accepted, then you have asked to submit a detailed business model or a business plan. And then that is again evaluated by a group of experts, a group of people who are already working in the industry. And finally, if you are accepted and go through the final round, then definitely there would be industry experts, financial experts who are going to judge your proposal and see that whether you have the potential to scale and whether you have the potential to make this program, make your project or business model sustainable, replicable, and scalable. So these are the three important aspects why we realize that this is the best way to get our business model accepted. And that is the reason why we have joined, we have basically put in our business plan to Power to Empower challenge, understanding that yes, let us test whether what we are claiming that this is one of our good model as far as skill development is concerned, but whether the market accepts our business model or whether we have the potential to scale, and let the expert evaluate that. And why NSDC? Because as we were discussing also, there are several other challenges that are going on in the market. If you see, there are different kind of challenges that is happening. But when we decided that NSDC, as Gouri also said that, NSDC being a apex institution in the country as far as the skill development is concerned, and their primary mandate is skill development. So therefore, what we realized that once we submit this challenge, where NSDC is completely steering this whole process, and once we are accepted at the national level, and that to a credible organized and apex institutions, then definitely we are going to have the brand building exercise, and people will start recognizing us as a credible player in the market, number one. Number two, also we realize that the NSDC being a apex institution working with several government organizations and being a body which is also partially funded or equity share of the government. So therefore we realized that let us go with the challenge. Then honestly speaking, when we started applying this, and by reaching the second round, we started getting mentoring support, which was extremely important because being a practitioner, we were very good at implementing the projects and the program. But again, at the same time, as an entrepreneur, you need to also develop various other skill sets, whether it is developing your technical proposal, developing your financial proposal. There we found that the mentoring support was extremely helpful for us in improvising our business plan, improvising our technical plan, as well as the financial plan, and getting a lot of feedback in the second round. And then when we reached to the final round, then also there was another way of getting mentoring support in helping us in developing our pitch presentation, even though you have a very good business model. But until and unless you know how to make a pitch for the presentation, and that too in 10 minutes presentation, what you need to present in terms of your technical plan, financial plan, that kind of input that we say from mentors for challenge was also increasing. That is the reason why we realized that even this strong case as far as our business model and already established the group by working in the state case for 2.5 years, but at the same time the presentation is a challenge. So that too we realized, and finally we received this first round of award in our challenge in 2013. Sorry, I think 2012. So that time suddenly what we realized, we are become a what has happened that yes, our business model has now been tested and people have accepted, not only the industry, yes, but the industry experts have accepted our plan. Then we have got a recognition exercise through this because we got interviewed by many media, like print media and electronic media and other people. And this channel helps in building government projects. In the space, already the kind of market opportunity in particular place. We have already scenario of the industry in India. And I'm going to focus a little bit about our business model. Basically, we are completely on the uneducated, underskilled youth providing a market landscape. So we started as a training and placement, but slowly and gradually what we realized actually in order to make business model sustainable, people, scalable, we need to work the 10 formula. You might have heard of that one is basically dealing with the large professional manpower. So what we realized that we have the strength and capability of we are working with large corporates and we are working with the as a community. In an individual organization, what we realize that the corporates are also facing the challenges in getting those manpower. At the same time, the people at the bottom of the pyramid are the uneducated, underskilled, they are facing it difficult in getting the even they are getting jobs, the contractor, but getting the minimum wages and other social security benefits. And yes, that was also major challenge for them. So therefore, what we realize that being a community, we are and also at the grassroots level. So therefore, for us to facilitate in that process as an individual organization, as a company, would be major role in addressing the demand gap and the supply gap also to ensure the minimum wage. And the hospitality sector concept that is a huge demand in terms of getting the manpower to the various social policies, because reverse migration, getting manpower to manpower. That is the reason why we have. As far as the media statistics are concerned, they are saying it has been a growth of year to year, there has been 50% growth in the domestic health, as far as the domestic health is concerned. The market by 2022, what they are selling for potential industry is estimated at 10 billion US dollars. So that is the reason why we have a huge market and entered into that. So we have started with a model in a skill and in we started at initially once scaled it up to and basically what has happened that now we have the concept because of this and we are already in the process of becoming a partner to NEN and getting the funding major expansion and delivery here and starting with north and slowly and gradually moving to the parts of the state. So here now we go further on question and answer session. Now I will get over to my colleague Lucy.
Thank you, Ajay. Now it's going to take about a minute or two to share, brief about one of the challenges which NCC is doing for the last 3 years. It's called Art of Art 2014 challenge. This has been organized by NCC and India Seminars and managed by Ennovent and Ajaya. This is a challenge, where we're looking at, a lot of people who start thinking about skills to create stable solutions in skills ecosystem. So we're looking for ideas and we're looking for business plans based on skills. And we're looking for a winner and 3 finalists in each category to ensure that we and still it's 15 on that. So when we look at like any part of the world, a group of people can apply, which is 3 individuals and any organization can apply. What we're looking at is any institution or an idea which can solve skills in India. It should, for us, anybody who gets a higher salary after or who is employed or gets a new job. It has impact in India and can be for profit or non-profit. We're looking for ideas and business plans trying for December 1st. And what we're looking at the cash rewards, an idea we are getting the best idea will get cash reward by recruit 1.5 lakh. Operations category, the business plan category will be recruiting a 3.5 lakh. And we'll also see access to both even CAD IB program and the links programs is a really great opportunity to network and international visibility. We're also looking for connectors, people who know of lots of in the space and can connect us to those business plans. The reward for those connectors about 10,000 rupees in cash. And then I'm also looking for the application which will actually highest both will get 15,000 rupees as cash reward. So we really hope you log in to the website called www.powertoempower.in and pay for this challenge. And once you will also get a lot of mentorship. As I was saying last year, we had scientists, they were given mentorship by people in this case, and we look forward to having participate. I think now both Gouri and Ajaya are ready to take questions. So we can take questions
now. We will begin with the question and answer round now. The first question is from Mr. Praveen Kumar. He says that you said during the course of the presentation that the skilled workforce required is huge by 2020. So he wants to know what is the go-to skill that the market is looking for currently and maybe later even. What is the go-to skill that the market is looking for? Like what do you think is the most necessary skill that someone needs to have to thrive in the market now?
That's a very interesting question. We know what answer to it. So it is incrementally, it's supposed to be a pattern about 350 for 2022. And this anticipate divided between entities that have been identified as high priority. And the skills which have been identified from million skill, depending on the job roles in that particular sector. The one uniform message that we get from industry is that they want people can be job ready at least in 2 weeks from the time they join the role. Right, so that's in my view the go-to skill that industry is looking for. In
the hospitality sector, when last is working in the informal sector, these employers are looking at these last years of our experience rather than human skills, or technical skills. They are looking for the soft skills or professional skills. Because they're expecting a person to discipline and work of work. Second, the ESP needs to be the peer group and also communication skills and without any absenteeism. So these soft skill components where we really and we that important capital as well as as part of the industry. The thing what we start talking to the employees for other years, you know, for them to also even though they have limited talking skills, we could certainly in acquiring those human skills. But unless the person is determined in the software and with his peer group or also the employers, that is the area which needs more exam as well as particular space is concerned.
is what
Ms. Gauri, can you hear me? Ms. Gauri, can you hear me? Mr. Ajaya, can you hear me?
Shashank, are you there?
Okay, the next question is from Miss Nitishri. She wants to know how big is the skills development market in India?
Hello?
She wants to know how big. Hello? Hello? Yes, we are not able to hear audio from your side. No, I cannot hear. What I can do is I'll ask the question on the phone as of now, and maybe hopefully the audience can hear the question as well. Is that okay? The next question is Nitish Ji wants to know how big is the skills development market in India? No, it's still not clear. I hope the audience are able to hear because I'm not. Some no, the audience are also saying that the audio is missing. Some of them have commented saying they cannot hear. Okay. The next question is from an anonymous person. He wants to know that he says that he's working on skills development organization in Pakistan called Amal Academy. It's focused on soft skills development, and he wants to know like what are the opportunities that are there for him in his country in skills development. Yes. Can you, give him some ideas, based on how you've done here in India?
Whereas if you look at the other, like other countries like all of Europe, Japan, US, and all other countries, including China, you will find that their average age of the population would be almost like around 35 to 40 years. And Pakistan would be the only country after India which is going to be almost 90 million workforce that is going to be available for working elsewhere in the world. So therefore, if we compare India and take the example of India and Pakistan, these two countries where we are going to have additional youth manpower who is going to, if we could able to provide those kind of skills training to the youth, address those aging population in the world, and they can work as a skilled labor elsewhere in the world. There is a huge opportunity as far as the developing countries are concerned, particularly India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, which has got huge opportunity in terms of available workforce. One is that, and secondly, as Gauri rightly pointed out, that there are different areas where one can do innovations in terms of creating an online and offline platform. Then also in the accreditation space, in the curricular development space, in the offering the skills training in the market. So there are different ways where an institution can build their capacity to work as a credible market player, whether it is in India, Pakistan, or any other developing country, because the biggest asset of these developing countries are the younger population as far as India and Pakistan is concerned.
The next question is from Miss Preeti. She says that she's done her post-graduation from London and now she's back in her hometown in Andhra Pradesh, and she's opened a company to impart soft skills and also run English courses. She says that she's been facing a lot of challenges, like for example, acceptance in her town. She's also not attained financial independence to work and progress more. So she wants you to suggest some ideas on how she can find financial support for her work on skill development in her town.
So I would suggest we would be very happy to get in touch with you, and if you can just drop in an email to us, we will have a more detailed discussion on what the funding options available and how we can take this forward. So drop in an email to proposals@nsdcindia.org.
Okay, Gauri, in general, can you just tell the audience about, how can one go about, finding financial support for, say, an organization that they're trying to build in skill development?
Financial support. NSDC funds up to 75% of the project cost, not including the cost of that. It is provided at a subsidized interest rate of 6%. The moratorium built in for the first 3 years on principal, and thereafter repayment over a 10-year horizon, including moratorium. The process for obtaining funding is follows. There is a proposal format which is available on the NSDC website, which is a technical proposal to the Word document, and the financial proposal, which is an Excel document, which is a text. The two documents need to be submitted to NSDC. The process with the funding guidelines are available on the website. Once the proposal is submitted to NSDC, we will have a discussion with the proposing entity on there are certain issues in the proposal. In the proposal, once our program development team was the program development team is convinced that the proposal is in form and shape where it is going to be considered, it is put up for diligence. This is a diligence process. Due diligence which is conducted on the proposal. We have external due diligence partners. We have the Deloitte who are doing diligence for NSDC. And thereafter, the proposal is put up based on the recommendations of the due diligence team for the approval committee. And between the time of submission of the proposal and approval, provided the proposals and NSDC is providing its milestone-based funding. So depending upon the business plan, every year milestones are provided. Funding is given as part of milestones. But the commitment is made to the diligence of the product. That's not one of
We'll be taking the last two questions. The next one is from Praveen Udupa. He wants to know whether NSDC supports skills that make MBA graduates more employable. For example, providing business analysis training to make them employable in the IT industry, or are any other avenues being offered?
So NSDC is willing to support projects which are also making employable MBA graduates. We are open to the proposal as long as it meets the guidelines which have been set out as funding guidelines which are available on these.
The last question of the day is from Ashish Baidyanath. He says he has a motorsports and automotive startup, and major part of his work deals with training, mechanics, technicians and fabricators in new methods and skills. He wants to know whether NSDC does venture funding for his kind of startup, or are the loans only given out to institutions?
NSDC is open to funding entrepreneurial ventures. There should be a little bit of a proof of concept that needs to be established. And three things are that there should be scale business. So looking at minimum 50,000 people skill or upskill over the next 10 years. The equality in the business means that the business has to have a revenue model which is, and the third thing is looking at 70% employment, self-employment. The major of the individual is a result of the skills intervention. And those three basic criteria are satisfied. We're happy to support entrepreneurial ventures.
Thank you very much for that interesting session. Thank you to all our attendees for participating in the webinar. Hope all your questions have been answered satisfactorily. If you found the session interesting, tweet to us at @NEN India. The recorded version of the webinar will be available at www.youtube.com/user/eclubnen online by tomorrow. Thank you once again and have a nice evening.